Hello and welcome back to CryptoLiveLeak. My name is Ken Garofalo and we are reporting live from Futurist 19 here in Toronto, Canada. I have the pleasure to speak with Antonio Brasse, the founder and CEO of BlockQuake. How are you doing today, Antonio?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, excellent. I'm glad you came on with us. And so, tell us a little bit about BlockQuake, what it actually is, and what are you guys trying to accomplish?
Sure. BlockQuake, our first project, is actually a regulatory-driven cryptocurrency exchange that will launch hopefully within a couple of weeks to about a month. And we are trying to really bring mass adoption by having many cryptocurrency and digital asset options, as well as many fiat on-ramps, so we can truly be global. People from all around the world can come in with their fiat and trade on our platform. And also going beyond that, we want to get into different tokenized asset classes. So we're pursuing our broker-dealer license as well as our New York State BIP license so that we can onboard many more projects later on.
Wow, that's very interesting. So you guys are an exchange focused on compliance and regulation. That's a little bit outside the norm for what we see in the crypto space, and that's definitely the best route to take, I would assume. And so you guys talk about fiat on-ramps. You mentioned that you have multiple fiat on-ramps. You want to just mention what those are?
Sure. So once we go live on the jump, people that where their local currencies, US dollars, Canadian dollars, Australian pound, euro, and yen, they can actually bring their fiat onto our platform and trade directly into what will be the initial 5 or 6 top cryptocurrencies. And on top of that, for the other countries where we don't have their fiat yet, we will have global credit and debit card deposit integration, so they'll still be able to bring their fiat via that route until we can bring a banking partnership on board for that.
Wow, that's excellent. A lot of different fiat routes there. And you guys offer something to insure that fiat that's parked on your exchange, and FDIC insurance. You want to talk about that?
Because our customers will be opening up a bank account through us with a U.S. bank, their fiat, regardless of what it's denominated in, will be FDIC insured for the U.S. equivalent. And for those that don't know what FDIC insurance is, it's essentially government insurance up to $250,000 per account.
Okay, so I have not seen any cryptocurrency exchange that FDIC insures their fiat parked on their exchange. So you guys seem to be one of the first trying to do this.
Yeah, if we're not the first, we're one of the first. And really great example, if someone we'll have the Canadian dollar, which is why we're at Futurist. So let's say we have a Canadian customer, they open an account with us, their Canadian dollars are sitting in a bank account that's member FDIC insured. So whatever the U.S. equivalent is of that Canadian dollar, it's insured up to $250K by the government.
So that's something very important for the more serious investor, not just your typical person who doesn't care about what's happening with their money. If people are putting serious money into their platform, they want to ensure that it can't be lost, and if there is a worst case scenario, that they can recoup that value. Perfect. So you also have third-party custodians involved in your process as well. You want to talk about that?
Sure, yeah. So this is a beautiful thing. Like, everyone's worried about security and security around custody. So our approach was, we're not going to custody anything. We're going to facilitate the trade, and we're going to use regulated, qualified custodians to custody the fiat, to custody the crypto. It adds extra layer of security and insurance as well. Those entities are insured. So our two main partners right now are Prime Trust and BitGo.
And so Prime Trust is also doing an additional service for you guys as well, right?
Yeah, they're providing our global KYC for all of our customers, fully compliant with the most stringent KYC laws on the planet.
So that's very interesting. When I hear of third-party custodians, I think of ETFs, right? If an ETF is ever going to pass in the US, SEC is going to require these companies to be third-party custodians and play like a traditional role, like traditional financial settlements would be, right?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, you and I both come from a traditional financial background, and from our own work experience, we know any asset has to be custodied by some type of control entity, right?
Right.
So we knew that was going to be made in force at some point, and the SEC and FINRA recently came out with a joint statement saying that much. Right. So we wanted to be in front of that.
Yeah, so just another great example of how you guys are leading the way in compliance for cryptocurrency exchanges here. So talk more about, you did mention it, the broker-dealer license and the New York BIP license that you guys are pursuing. What are the timelines, and how do you see those playing a role in your business?
Sure, we're currently in the process for both the ATS and the BIP license of pulling together all the procedural documents to submit to them. You never know because there's going to be back and forth questions, but we anticipate it being 3 to 4 months roughly, because a lot of the professionals we're working with to help us in this process, they've done it before, so we're not the guinea pigs.
Yeah.
So,
that's a good thing.
yeah. So we think it'll take 3 to 4 months, but you never know. It's a brand new space. Regulators might come back with questions.
Right. Disclaimer there.
Yeah.
So let's talk about tokenized assets and tokenized real estate, which you guys plan on offering on your exchange.
Yes, this is the big long-term play. Yes, we can list all the traditional cryptocurrencies out there, but there's tokenized real estate, tokenized securities, other commodities that we want to be able to list, which is why we're going for the ETFs. And real estate's big. Just being in finance, we know a lot of people, including yourself, that's working on tokenized real estate projects, and that's a market we want to tackle because as fractional ownership is created, it adds liquidity. We want to make sure we're partnered up with projects like yours, where your tokens and other tokens that you're working with are listed with us, and it just creates a very liquid ecosystem.
Right. So Antonio is referencing our work with Tezos. They recently came out with an STO standard, and there's been already $2 billion of real estate assets committed to tokenizing on the Tezos platform. So that's something I hope that maybe you can integrate to your platform using those standards and maybe using the Tezos platform to facilitate this tokenization of real-world assets.
It's great synergy. Everything feeds each other, right? Like if the two are working together, more people are getting involved in tokenized real estate, and then more people will be able to on and off ramp via our platform as well. So
let's talk more about the possibility of tokenizing equities. This really excites me because I come from an ETF background where sometimes traditional equity settlements take T+3, trade date +3, or an international settlement may take T+5. So that's 5 or 3 business days waiting for something to settle. If we were able to tokenize that, it could be a near instant settlement. What would that do for traditional finance?
That will do things we haven't seen before, like real-time settlement, fractional shares. We'll just see a ton of more money pump into the equity space that we haven't seen. And particularly in the OTC realm, where it's a very illiquid market, it's game-changing in that space where people can jump in, or think Apple stock, where someone can't afford to buy a share.
Right.
Now they could buy a fractional share, and it's done real time.
It's done real time, yeah. So you open up to a whole new pool of liquidity, and your settlements are done real time. Okay, so getting back to the exchange here, let's talk more about what you guys are doing in terms of pushing regulation forward in DC, in terms of lobbying and things of that nature.
Yeah, so we've been down to DC a couple of months ago. We met with congressional officers on both sides of the aisle, in the House and the Senate. It was really great meetings. We just wanted to get their pulse because we're new, we're building it from the ground up. We don't have the legacy issues like a lot of other exchanges on the regulatory side. So when meeting with them, we found that they were very reasonable. Their big concerns were KYC and investor protection, which were our two things. So what we walked away with is that they're not trying to shut this space down. So I know there are people outside of the U.S. that are worried about the U.S. wanting to shut it down. No, that is not what we got out of the meetings. They are open to seeing this move forward as long as their concerns are addressed.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely calming my nerves, so I hope that calms the listeners' nerves as well. And so let's talk a little bit about your website, your plans for the mobile website, and maybe a phase 2, a mobile app.
Yeah. So when we do launch, we'll have the website, mobile-friendly website initially for people to trade some of the top cryptos alongside the fiats. And phase 2, we're actually talking to developers right now to build our mobile app, and we expect that to be a few months out. So that'll be phase 2. That might actually line up with ATS and BitLicense.
Okay, excellent. So that'd be some good timing for you there. And so let's talk a little bit about proposed loyalty token that would be used on the platform.
Yep. So we actually have our Regulation S token offering going on overseas right now. Because it has a profit sharing component, in the US and Canada it would be considered a security. So we went with our Regulation S first, but we do want to, through one of the exemptions domestically here, be able to offer it hopefully in the next 2 months. to U.S. and Canadian residents. So watch out for that. Like they'll continue to be able to find more info on that at BlockQuake.com.
Okay, BlockQuake.com, guys. If you need more info on that, please go immediately.
Yep. And we'll continually be updating corporate information, where we're at there, as well as all of our social media handles.
Yeah, that's excellent. And so you talked about profit sharing. So usually, I'm on an exchange. I have their utility token, their profit sharing token. They're paying me in that token, but I may not necessarily want that token. It may not have the kind of value that I'm looking for. I want a piece of their profits, but I don't want their profit sharing token. So how are you changing that? What differentiates you?
Yeah, I mean, that was as a trader myself, I stayed away from loyalty tokens for exchanges because they profit shared in their token, and I'm like, hey, I'm from finance like you. I'm thinking about dilution. Right. Like, I don't want your token. It's being diluted all day, every day. So we're actually not profit sharing in our token. So our token holders will get profit sharing in one of the top cryptocurrencies. So that way they feel a real sense of value, something that they can hold on to if they want to, or liquidate out if they want to.
And is that something they're able to choose in which cryptocurrency they're given, or is?
We are working through that right now. We would like to build that out. But what we might do initially is maybe spread it out amongst the 5. So they're actually, someone made a comment on our team that using our token is probably a great way to diversify in the marketplace, because you get the profit sharing in some of the top cryptos. And I was like, wait, I didn't think about it like that. That's actually true.
It's almost like holding a basket of assets just by holding your token.
Yep.
Yeah. So excellent. So in closing, do you have anything you want to say to our audience here? It was great talking with you, great learning with the exchange here BlockQuake is going to be, and I think I'm going to be a user in the future if I pass the KYC, of course, but anything
pass it.
Okay. I'll take your word for it.
No, just at this point, just continue to visit our website, BlockQuake.com, for more info and our social media handles. We have the BlockQuake social media handle for everything: Instagram, Twitter, FB.
Okay, and we'll be sure to tag all those when we release this video. So, Antonio, very nice talking to you today.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. All right, and take care for the rest of the conference.
You too. Thanks.